What's up, Buff? So, Revenge on the Streets. This was a Brazilian dev, I believe. Halfle bought me both games and told me to play them, probably because he thought I'd flip out. Trying not to show all the pornographic movies on my desktop. I don't have them on my desktop anymore. I had to reinstall Windows, so they're not now properly categorized in their own file folders. Anyway, this was honestly not bad for what they are, which is extremely cheaply made, extremely like amateurish beat 'em up. Oh yeah, Little Witch Luana. Well, Little Witch Luana is a problem because it is a more complicated style of game. It's an actual like 2D platformer. I think beat 'em up is a much better starting point for a dev like this. Modder capture stream, yeah. You should do more art streams where you draw characters. What's up, Renzo? And I want to apologize right off the bat for throwing this in the middle of the day, in the middle of the work week, but I don't want to leave it until after Christmas. Anyway, yeah, I think a beat 'em up's a pretty solid starting point for a dev like this, and I was honestly pretty impressed with it. It's got some real problems, like some of the optional characters are just broken to the point where they're unplayable, like the ninja that has the sword dash that locks you into the one frame and you can't get out of it until someone kills you. That's pretty obnoxious. And the two female characters are terrible. The only playable character that you start with is Saul here, who has the fire punch move that is really good. But I do like the fact that there are unlockable characters. I especially like the one that has the machine gun and the shotgun. That's really funny. I like a lot of the character designs, honestly, despite them being like really deviant art, like Brazilian deviant art. They're pretty identifiable. Like the guys with the glasses, Anna here with glasses and like bicycle shorts. Really a pretty cool game. The sequel's alright, but it's not too interesting. And these games are pretty cheap. This is $149 on sale right now. But it's also pretty rough, and honestly, you've probably played stuff like this, although probably not quite as high quality on like Newgrounds back in the day. This is basically like if a Newgrounds game got a full release, which is, I don't know, there's not a whole lot of demand for that, admittedly, but I liked it. I never wrote up the sequel despite finishing it because there were things that I wanted to do with it that I never got around to, so... Comparing this to something like Grime. Grime is obviously more polished, bigger budget, but it's just kind of bland. Yeah, I'm gonna knee-jerk put it above Grime and below Mega Man. Because Mega Man is rough in a lot of the same ways as this is, like it's just broken in some ways. But it's also a better game all around, and it's way more like worth replaying, and it's not as broken. Have you seen Dancing Divas? No, I have not. Hey, it's Biceps and Peng. So yeah, oops. Revenge on the Streets. Actually, I should do this. There we go. Alright. Cyber Shadow. Cyber Shadow... It's like Cathedral, where it's an okay game. And honestly, I like Cyber Shadow a lot better. Thank you for Anime Gift. I got you Code Vein, right? I was looking at... Because I don't know... Like, you said you don't really do indie games. And I don't know any, like, good AAA games that you don't have. Or Lord of the Rings games, so... I figured Code Vein was probably a okay bet. Code Vein's really cool if you can get into it, but it's potentially a bit of an ask to get into it. You have to be willing to want a Dark Souls knockoff game that isn't actually that much like Dark Souls playing it. So yeah, this was a lot like The Messenger, but not quite as good stylistically, in my opinion anyway. And the gameplay is a little bit less, like the structure of it is less loose, but it still has a kind of loose structure due to the way the backtracking is, where it very much is like The Messenger in that there's a lot of backtracking that's just unnecessary. Another game I didn't finish because I stopped before the final boss. What, this or Code Vein? Because this, I think the final boss, the boss fights in general are probably the high points. Code Vein? Yeah, I can see that. Which Ninja Gaiden is this? This is Cyber Shadow, which released this year, and it's currently $16. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about Cyber Shadow. I'd say it's okay, but I would recommend The Messenger above it. I would recommend probably that's the best comparison. Cyber Shadow is a pretty cool name. It is a really cool name, and it's got really good art direction and animations and stuff. It's very it really captures that NES style really well, but I don't know. I did not like how the backtracking and stuff worked, and there just wasn't enough unique about the game. So like comparing that with something like Void Run, I liked Void Run a lot more. Obviously, it was a lot more unique, despite also being a kind of a retro style game. I haven't really played that many. I mean, except for the Mega Mans, which are very different. I haven't really played too many just like run and gun platformers this year. Let's look at Cathedral. Cathedral is definitely worse than this, like more boring. I think there's a much greater chance of somebody being really jazzed by this in ways that I wasn't than in Cathedral. Same with Grime, honestly. And it's better than Revenge on the Streets. I don't know if it's good enough to put above Mega Man and Mega Man 3, though. I think that's where this goes. It's just too overpriced and like too much of an ask to get invested in it. I am completely Asperger's for pixel art bullshit. Oh man, there are some good ones. Did you see the Team Ladybug games, by the way? Oh shit. I've lost, Sorry about that. Should be back up. Pixel art is always neat. Back now? Okay, good. Yeah, Cabbage Pots, have you played the Team Ladybug games? Video is very low frame rate. That shouldn't be true. What is my frame rate? Video. Yeah, I'm going at 30 FPS. Oh, I'm just losing a couple frames is all. Oh, I thought that was me. No, sorry. It's very low resolution because I'm running it at a very low bitrate. Yeah, this is part of the reason why I'm squeezing this in right now, because I've been having real connection problems on top of everything else. So I wanted to do it during the day when my connection wasn't complete shit. Like, absolutely terrible. But yeah, Cabbage Pots, if you like really good, like, pixel art stuff, the Team Ladybug games, they made a Metroidvania based on Toho, and they made a Metroidvania based on Record of Lodoss War. Both are very good games. The Toho one's probably better. They're not great as Metroidvanias, honestly, but they're really good boss rush type games. I thought Steam was downloading. No, it's all me. It's all me. That's why I kind of dropped, or part of why I kind of dropped the thing of doing this every night was because I just couldn't keep my internet stable. A couple other reasons, but anyway, yeah, I strongly recommend checking out those Team Ladybug games if you're. The other one would be Valfaris, which is more like a 16-bit style, or like Sega Genesis style pixel art game, but really, really gorgeous. Dark Souls 3. This one, I was gonna try and get Iane in for, but I think Iane was just gonna play the Convergence mod and didn't have too much to say about this. Gayford. So I've complained a lot about Dark Souls 3. It has a lot of problems. My main thing with it is that I think just the series was already kind of tapped out when this game came out as far as from adding anything interesting to it. And then the things that they were planning to do that were interesting, they cut. So what's left is a very superficially well-polished game that's way too similar to the prior games in the series, but angles even more into like character action, iframe dodge rolling through 5-hit combos, and it doesn't do the same thing for me that the older Souls games did, and it wouldn't have been as good if I wasn't already like giving the developer a pass, honestly. But as far as a base for mods goes, it's clearly much, much better than any of the prior Souls games. It going back to like Dark Souls 1 or even Dark Souls 2 and trying to find good mods for them, it's really tough. And I think that's just on a level of like the background programming of it. It's better from... Yeah, that's part of the reason. Like, there's hardly any mods for Dark Souls 3 that I could play and be like, well, I'd rather just play vanilla Dark Souls 3 again instead of this. Because even when the mod is, like, not well balanced or kind of shitty or kind of half thought out, that's basically the same as vanilla Dark Souls 3. So, yeah, that is part of why it's a better base for modding, but it's also just technically a better base for modding. It looks clearer, the animations, you have more flexibility with Okay. Um, yeah, it's also just technically a better base for modding it. Because I got a ton of game wrecks. Hold off on them because I think I'll do them for end of the year. I was gonna do a whole stream where I invite people in for game wrecks for the next year. Dark Souls rolling and stamina into Gothic 2. Somebody added Dark Souls parrying into Blade and Sorcery, but I have not gotten it to work properly yet. It looks really funny though. Like the idea is that you like hit an enemy's weapon as they swing with your shield, or another weapon with the right angle and timing and stuff, and it like knocks them down, and you get an opening to like just brutally whatever, visceral them or whatever, or do a giant backstab. But I haven't gotten it to work. So yeah, the Convergence mod for Dark Souls 3 is also a good mod for a game that is a good base for mods. And it's definitely better than Dark Souls 2. And especially with the... How the fuck did Dark Souls 2 get that high, honestly? Especially it being Scholar, Jesus. I must have been exhausted by the time we got to that one. I'm gonna put it right above Dragon Quest. Because I think Resident Evil 4 is a better game, and playing it in VR is fun enough as just an excuse to play that game again. And same with this mod, but I think Resident Evil 4 is even better than the mod. Hey, shut up. So, and it's better than Dragon Quest, honestly, because you don't actually have to grind in this. So obviously it's worse than Tired Rehash of a genre. You got Tony Hawk 1+2 Remaster. That's awesome. Where'd you get it? Because I don't know anybody who's gotten the PC port yet. So I don't know how it is. Did you just get it on PlayStation or whatever? Switch. Oh, wow. That's interesting. How are the controls on Switch? Blaster Master 03. It's another Blaster Master Zero game. This is probably the one that I like the least, honestly. Even though it's got some neat stuff going on. Hardly anything's new. And the stuff that is new is pretty bad. Like the randomized optional dungeons. Blew through the first few stages and they played fine. That's cool. Are there any like motion control things or anything like that? Anyway, Blaster Master 03, pretty weak, but I think if you've already played Blaster Master 0 and Blaster Master 02, you're probably going to pick this up at some point and be kind of disappointed in it. And there's nothing I can say or do to stop you from doing that to yourself. I did it to myself. I'm gonna put it right above Dishonored 2, which I think is in the same boat. But I was less depressed playing this than Dishonored 2. I just really don't have much to say about this. I mean, besides Kana, which I don't think I even have any clips of her in this. She's the giant melon plant lady. Yeah. The N64 port we talked about a lot. It was really like hilariously sloppy of a port. I really hope that's not the internet people rolling past, slow rolling past in a truck. All right, let's get to an actually good game that I've been putting off because I was hoping. Let's see if Hocus is around. Oops. No, Hocus is not around. Hocus had his chance. Kind of makes the whole series worth it. Yeah. Alright, here we go. Monster Sanctuary. And part of the reason I wanted Hocus here was so that he would help me push this up really high, because I do really think this is a cool game. But I think it's kind of hard to sell to people. Because it just looks like kind of bland Pokemon. But it's really more like the Cyrillum games, where there's all these like mechanical interweaving with the monster types and stuff. It removes like the random like IVs and EVs from Pokemon, so all of the monsters are the same if they're the same level. It's more about what you do with your skills, your skill tree, and you can put a lot of thought into it. I heard that you're not actually Jewish. Keep it quiet. Keep it quiet. Who'd you hear that from, Buff? Anyway, Monster Sanctuary, probably, this, I think, is one of the, pretty... Fuck. I can't believe they made an RPG about NFTs. He is generous and gives his friends gifts. Hey, Haffle. Hey, Haffle. I've said this to terminals, I don't know how many times, but we're not friends. This doesn't make you my friend. Anyway. No, you're all my friend. You're all family here. Monster Sanctuary, pretty underrated, I think, at least on the forums. I don't think many people have played this besides Annie and Hocus. And those are two recommendations that I think people take, or just kind of ignore, honestly. You gave a gift to your friend Pengu? Oh. What the fuck, Jumander? I just don't want you guys to get all, you know, obsessed with me and start stalking me or whatever. I mean, unless it makes you post more in my thread. This looked like gay indie pixel art crafting shit, and Hocus liked it, so I assumed it was garbage. No. It's genuinely a really deep and interesting, like, turn-based tactics thing. It's got some downsides as far as that goes, but they are still tweaking it. They're still doing balance patches and doing stuff like adding some stuff to certain monsters' skill trees. No one gave me gifts for my birthday, and no one is giving me gifts for Christmas, so I'm just commissioning a bunch of foreign. Hey, that's... Sometimes you gotta treat yourself, buddy. Yeah. I mean, Nene is the best. We're all husbands, so... So yeah, I genuinely think this is worth checking out. It's dirt cheap right now, too. Yeah, I can't really explain everything that makes this worth playing through. I think it's just a solid game. And I get why people kind of slept on the recommendations, because yeah, it is like Hocus, and I can't honestly remember who the other person I saw talking about it. Was it Zach or Annie, or was it somebody else? Yeah. Yeah, which really surprised... It honestly kind of surprised me that he was so obsessed with this, because I played the demo of it, like, last year, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I was planning on picking it up, and then kind of out of nowhere, Hocus started getting, like, really insistent that I check it out, so I finally did, and I was pleasantly surprised, and we talked about it a lot. Again, there are some slight missteps with it, but nothing huge. So, I'm not gonna put it up here in the top 5, though, because Hocus isn't here to argue about it. I think CHR is another surprisingly good game that is, I mean, cheaper. That shouldn't really matter, in my opinion, but it's also just a little more unique, or a lot more unique. He just loves grindy, shit jank MMO type stuff. I guess, but that's not really this. Like, this doesn't really fit the brand of that kind of thing. So let me see. How do I feel about this versus Void Run? I think this has more content than Void Run. I think Void Run's more like a kind of arcade game where either you click with it and you have a bunch of fun, or you don't click with it and you just don't play it. Whereas this, I think you can kind of develop a taste for it over time. I think there's a lot of extra stuff you can do within it. But I don't think it breaks into the top 5. Very good. Not my game of the year. Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact's just... it's only good for looking up on borders. The Forgotten City. Oh boy, here we go. This shit is an Oblivion mod that they remade in their own engine in order to make the facial animations even worse and more abhorrent. This game was advertised... Oh, Skyrim mod, sorry. That's even worse, Jesus. Anyway, this game really pissed me off because it was advertised as a game similar to Outer Wilds, which it is not in any way similar to Outer Wilds. The only connective tissue there is that this is also technically a time loop game, but they don't do anything interesting with the time loop. In fact, you carry your inventory over each loop, so if you can get access to, like, a chest with gold in it, you can just do the loop over and over and grind up 1,000 gold really easily. It's so stupid. It's not even thought out. The writing is juvenile and embarrassing. The characters are mostly vacuous. The story is embarrassing. Everything about it is embarrassing. They just mirror the textures on both sides of every object that you can pick up and turn around. The only combat is you shooting arrows at these zombies, and you have to shoot 2 arrows into them unless you hit them in the head, and then it's only 1 arrow. How is the Roman field? Terrible. It's terrible. You just like don't really do anything except walk around emptying conversation trees. It's really bad. It's not nearly as bad as Mist VR for the Oculus, but I think it's worse than Mega Man 11, honestly. Mega Man 11 is at least an actual game that you can play, even though I think it made the wrong move with every mechanic. The Forgotten City is not even a good... It's not even an adventure game. Like, it's very piss poor as an adventure game, and that's a really low bar. They call them Mr. Romantic. Yeah, the Forgotten City is awful. I almost want to put it below Myst just to drive home the point that it has no similarity with Outer Wilds, because that pissed me off so much. But honestly, it doesn't even deserve to be the lowest ranked game, because it's mostly just boring. Nice palate cleanser. Arturian Legends. Honestly, really fun. I played a lot more of this than I thought I would. I thought it would just be like a weird one and done, like, Hexen clone. But it honestly has a lot more going on. It has weapon durability for most weapons, which I think a lot of people are going to be initially put off from. But I think the game handles it a lot better than you'd expect. It really is really cool. There are some issues, most of them tied up with the fact that it's all made in like a Game Maker engine, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they didn't just do GZDoom. I guess there's a handful of things that this game wanted to do that would have been... you would have had to do a workaround to make it in GZDoom. The weapon works like ammo, which is fine. Yeah. It's just that, you know, with most games, you hear weapon durability and you just kind of roll your eyes like, that's unnecessary. But in this, once you realize that it's basically just like ammo for a bunch of really cool and fun to use weapons, and it's not particularly skimpy on anything either, I think that alleviates it a lot. But you have to actually get to the point where you're willing to play it despite it being an FPS run and gun with weapon durability. And it's not too short or anything. But I don't know. It's really cool. But it's just missing something, and I don't know what it is. I like the alternate modes, but they're a little sparse. And it has some weird tone issues too. Like there's Monty Python references, but everything's all like visually kind of gritty and bloody and gross. I want to put this pretty high, but putting it above something like genuinely emotionally impactful like Yakuza or Outer Wilds feels kind of wrong, because this is just kind of a dumb, fun run and gun smash stuff up. It doesn't feel that much removed from like something you would get on a demo disc in the early 90s or mid 90s, I guess. Because it feels like one of those games, sort of like Amulets and Armor, where like it was already dated when it came out in like 97 or something. I'm gonna squeeze it between Mega Man's 4 and 2. Because I like driving wedges between stuff like that. It's totally worth picking up and playing if you like this kind of game. But it's not revolutionary. It's not gonna like be your game of the year, I don't think. Like, reminded me a lot of Witch Haven, which was terrible. I can get that, yeah. I still haven't played Witch Haven. I'm gonna get it eventually, but this is definitely a lot better pace than I've heard that is. Like, there are enemies later on that kind of take a lot of damage, but you also get stuff like the Holy Hand Grenade, which will basically instantly jib them. Witch Haven was awful, awful, awful. Yeah, but I still gotta play it eventually. But even if you have concerns with that, I would say don't be fooled. It was shovelware from 95, yeah. I would recommend Arthurian Legends anyway. Even if you have some hesitation about it. Death's Gambit, this is a really rough game in a lot of ways, but the most recent update, when they finally got it out on Switch, I feel like they finally finished the game in a way that it never was before, and I've got a soft spot in my heart for this one. It's very similar to Salt and Sanctuary, where it's kind of unnecessary, but let's see, where's Salt and Sanctuary? Down here. I like this better. It's got a more interesting style. It's got voice acting. It's got sort of more exciting powers. Did you play Valheim? No, I did not. So I want to push this up higher. I'll probably put it above Convergence Mod 2. I'll put it above Ender Lilies even. Yeah, I'll put it right above Ender Lilies. Because Ender Lilies is cool, but it's just kind of, it's alright. And I don't think the developer's really gonna revisit it and try and make it into something more special than it already is. Whereas this, I gotta give credit to the devs for like hanging on to this game that didn't really do much initially and trying to make it into an actually relevant game. I liked almost all of the stuff they added with the later update. The Steam Winter, yeah, that's why all of these have prices, because I posted in my thread about the games that I've played that have that are on sale. Basically, the only things that I'd recommend that are on sale are Victor Origins for only $1. That's a great game, and like it regularly goes on sale for $1, and nobody's bought it. If anyone wants to give me anything. The Master Chief selection. Monster Sanctuary is another great pickup. Only $7. Really, really good game. And honestly, Dark Souls 3 is a pretty good pickup for $15, $20 with both the DLCs. So yeah, Death's Gambit. I highly recommend this now. I wouldn't have recommended it even a year ago, but kudos to the dev for staying on it. And speaking of kudos to the dev, Unsighted. This game really surprised me. I played the demo and really liked it, but I figured it would be one of those things that never really got finished or took a couple years and was kind of disappointing. Playing it after it came out, I was like, oh shit, this is an actual full game that's really cool, like right up my alley. Has a lot of stuff that surprised me, even having played the demo. And its downsides really aren't that big. The crafting system's a little weird. It kind of seems like they trimmed down like a sort of Minecraft style experimentation thing. But that's fine. It doesn't really take anything away from the finished product, which has really tight gameplay, fun exploration, meaningful exploration, because there's a lot of like secrets and alternate routes and extra optional items that you can find and stuff like that. I'm going to buy it. Good. Because the other thing is that this is a game with a lot of like gender robots and robots of color. It's about black lesbian robots being in love, and for all the jokes, I think this game pulls it off, where it doesn't feel like it's just like slapped on to meet a bullet point, or that the game was made just because the developers happen to be black lesbians or whatever. It genuinely feels like that's how the characters were all written. And yeah, maybe it's because the devs are all black lesbian robots or whatever, but they're also good game developers, so that's a complete pass for me. Yeah, the game is genuinely good, and the character stuff, even if you absolutely hate it and don't care about it, you can skip through all of it. And this character right here lets you murder any NPC you want to steal their life essence and extend your life. Just don't do it if you want to get the true final ending, because it locks you out of it for obvious reasons. But your first playthrough, I mean, go for it. Really, really cool. And it's only like $20 at full price. Really, really surprised me. Mega Man 9's been out for a while, and so that's why I'm gonna bump it down. And I feel bad for CHR Guy, but his game is just too niche. Mega Man 9, I like Mega Man 9 better than this. I'll play Mega Man 9 more than this, but Mega Man 9's been out for a while. It's been out, I think a lot of people who will ever play it have already bought it, you know, a couple different ways. And the only way to get it, or the primary way you would get it right now, is buying it on Steam in a bundle with Mega Man 7 and 8 and 10, which having to come in a bundle with 7 especially, and 8, even though 8 does have the English dub. I love Pinball and love Titty. What game was that? Victor Origins is 99 cents, everyone. Yeah. Waranoy. I don't know Waranoy. Why is Mega Man 9 afraid of Mega Man 7? Because Mega Man 7 sucks. Ooh. So yeah, I'm gonna put Unsighted above Mega Man 9 because Unsighted is worth checking out. If you haven't played Mega Man 9, I encourage you to pirate it. I don't really encourage you to buy the bundle. Although the bundle does come with all the DLC. Unsighted is just a really, really cool game. One of the things that's cool about it, just to talk a little bit more about it, is that there's lots of like secret things that you can do, especially early on. Like if you hang around in the tutorial area before the timers start, because that's the other main gimmick, is that every NPC has a limited amount of time that constantly ticks down while you're doing anything except the fishing minigame. Yeah. I can't remember what I was saying, but anyway, yeah. Definitely cool. Definitely worth checking out. Really good art and animation, too. And you can skip all the dialogue and cutscenes if you don't care about them. Yeah, I could talk a lot more about this, but I need to wrap things up. I missed the Tony Hawk remake discussion. What place did it get? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. It's number 1. Thank you to Big Turd for joining me on that one. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Tony Hawk! Tony Hawk! Alright, Astalon. Let's wrap this up. Astalon! Again, very similar to Cathedral. This one's okay. This one's got a lot more going on with it than Cathedral. It's got a lot more character. I especially love the updated portraits that you can unlock. I love how brutal this intro animation is of the Dark Knight destroying your party. Just absolutely obliterating them, and there's nothing you can do. Great start to a game like this. But mechanically, it's just kind of alright. It's it starts out being kind of like Legacy of the Wizard, but I don't know, it doesn't really commit to any real gimmick for game structure, and it ends up just kind of feeling like a pretty bland platformer with a lot of backtracking. And a lot of the other stuff that is cool about it ends up feeling kind of superficial and not really contributing too much to the actual game, which I was kind of sad about. I had higher hopes for this one, especially after the demo, but it's okay. Definitely better than Cathedral. I would put it above Cyber Shadow too, because although Cyber Shadow is tighter, like the core gameplay is tighter, it has even worse backtracking stuff. And this is a style of game that the backtracking's easier to give a pass to than in a Ninja Gaiden clone, basically. Let's look at Mega Man and Mega Man 3. Honestly, I would put this above Crown Trick too, because I'm probably never going to touch Crown Trick again. And it also had a lot of similar neat things, but it had less of a personal style to it. If you own 100%, this one, is the backtracking still annoying? I think even if you don't 100% it, you still have to do a decent amount of backtracking just to get through it. And the problem is a lot of the game is trying to get the 100% stuff. Like, there's 2 optional characters that you basically can't unlock until near the end of the game anyway. And it just winds up being a whole pain in the ass. And then on top of that, there's 2 extra modes where you play as either the Black Knight or the Gargoyle. And those absolutely require you to 100% the game. And they're not that interesting to actually play. It's kind of cool that they added them, but they're not as fun enough to play or unique enough to play to really be worth 100%ing it. Mandatory to play them. But I'd say you're more likely to get invested in this to want 100% than you are to get invested in Crown Trick to try and do the hard mode or whatever it is on that one. So I'm gonna put it right there, right under Lego Star Wars 1 and 2. Lego Star Wars 1 and 2, as much as I liked the writing and cutscenes and stuff in this, and especially the updated portraits, I laughed way harder at stuff in this. Desperados 3 is the last game. Probably the last game that I'll be writing about this year. Maybe not. I haven't made a thing for it. There we go. Desperados 3, just like Shadow Tactics, it's basically one of the Commandos games, but in a new setting. I never played the old Desperados games, so I don't really know how this holds up compared to those. But I had a lot of fun with this. It was a lot like playing through Shadow Tactics for the first time for me. And that's a good thing. I haven't played the DLC for Shadow Tactics yet, and I probably am not going to play the DLC for this one, just because it's all individual levels and they're like $5 each, and I don't think I like playing this game, but I don't think the maps are worth $5 a pop. So, and this does have all of the problems of any game like this, where it's more like a puzzle box that you slowly unwind, or like pull apart string by string, than it really is a tactics game or an action game in any way. There's barely any actual action that you can hope to pull off in your first playthrough of any of these levels. The first Desperados is worth playing. I've heard that the later ones kind of stink. I don't know. I never played them. I never played them or the Robin Hood one. I only ever played the Commandos games back in the day. I was really obsessed with the first one. This one does have a few neat things added to it. I never played the Star Trek one either. I kind of wanted to play that one. I hated Commandos. Yeah. It was interesting for the time. This one has a lot of interesting stuff with like bonus versions of the levels, or like rearranged levels. That is kind of cool, where you get given like really specific tasks. and like different characters that you play with, called the Barons missions or whatever. But I know it was flawed. Yeah, and honestly, part of the problem with this and Shadow Tactics is that just the genre itself, at its core, has a lot of flaws. As far as being like really compelling games, because it's just the way that you're forced to play them the first time that kind of drags things down, and this lifts it up a little bit in the same way that Shadow Tactics does, with good characters, good voice acting, good writing, really good art and detail to the levels, but none of that can really solve the core problems of the genre. You're probably not in the mood right now. No, I'll get it eventually, if it ever goes on sale. I do want to put this pretty high, but I don't want to put it above something like Arthurian Legends, which I think is more entertaining, more universally entertaining. They're basically puzzle games. Yeah, and not even that, because you don't ever have to solve anything, or you very rarely have to solve any actual puzzle. It's really just you analyzing something and figuring out what the correct order of operations is. It's sort of like how the room games are basically, put a square block in a square hole over and over. But with this, it's very complicated shapes that you plug into very complicated holes, and you kind of have to look at each shape for a while to figure it out. But at the end of the day, that's still what you're doing. But again, there are plenty of games that have weak gameplay cores that I rate very highly. For example, Yakuza Like a Dragon is basically a collection of scalable quality mini games and a pretty bare bones and poorly thought out party-based JRPG, but the acting and art and everything else that goes on with it pushes it, like buoys it so high that it goes all the way up here into the top 10. This doesn't have that great of an acting or anything like that. There's no facial animations or anything. And the characters are okay, but they're not amazing. Similar to like Ender Lilies, where the art's really nice and there's a lot of like hints that there's stuff going on with the characters, but it never really gets fully fleshed out. But I think Ender Lilies, if you like action Metroidvania type stuff, I think that would be more interesting to you. Do I put this above Diablo 2 though? I think I will put it above Diablo 2. And the reason is Diablo 2 is similar to how I said this is like looking at complicated shapes and complicated holes and slotting them into place. Diablo 2 is basically the same thing, but the complicated shape that you're looking at is the item stats that you're slotting into the complicated holes, which is how your class is playing and what difficulty and act you're in right now. But going back to Diablo 2 is a lot harder, and you might get trapped in like an endless grind situation, which you can't really get trapped in here. In Desperados, you pretty much just solve it and move on, and get a little endorphin hit. So Desperados is 18. And with that, that's all the games. That's every game that I played and wrote about this year. There's other things that I could... I could whip something up and right about right now. For example, Neo 2, I wrote a whole thing about last year, I think it was, because I played it on the PS4. And this year I played it again, but I played it on the PC, and I played even more of it this year than I did last year. And like, I could talk a lot about this game, but I'm not going to, because I don't really have anything else to add. I think it's worth playing if you like character action games, but I don't think anybody is going to be sold on it by me saying it's an awesome, epic character action game with like a huge amount of depth to the actual action parts of it. I think people have mostly made up their minds on this, and that's fine. Like, I don't think they're going to do it much more with this series itself. And I think that's fine too, because I think Neo 2 is basically like the pinnacle of what you can do with this style of action game with slight Souls style level design and stuff like that. You can make your character a total babe. Yeah, right now I'm playing as the chick from Busa Rankin, who I remade as Sengoku era. What do you call him? I almost said Kusogaki, but that's basically what she is. Neo 2 is cool. I should finish it at some point. Yeah. That's basically it. It's an extremely long game, which I also like. Yeah, and it has a lot less reuse of stuff, or at least the reuse of stuff feels less unsatisfying than in Neo 1. Neo 1 had a real problem with the length of the game and the sparsity of different enemies and environmental things, which it tried to stretch out in some kind of cool ways, but mostly in really shitty and boring ways. Neo 2 does a lot better job of that, and basically everything else that Neo 1 did. Alright, later, cabbage. Well, you also probably played Neo 1 with the DLCs. Which definitely added a lot of enemy variety, or at least some enemy variety, even to the base game. Once the DLCs came out, they added some of the DLC enemies to the base game. I played Neo 1 when it first came out. I was talking to Haffle, but... So yeah, Neo 2 is a lot better. Yes, yeah. I honestly love Neo 1, but Neo 2 is just so much better in almost every way that it's kind of tough to go back to Neo 1 even though I love it. Should I play Neo 1 before 2? I don't think you have to, honestly. I think Neo 1 is... It's okay to, like, visit after playing Neo 2, but you will be a little disappointed by it. And I think if you force yourself through Neo 1 first, you might get burned out on it and assume that Neo 2 is something that you should put off for longer. Neo 1 has a really fun story. Neo 1 has a really bizarre story. That's one thing that another thing that Neo 2 did way, way better than Neo 1 was just the way it told its story was a lot less disjointed and bizarre. It gets great near the end. So just play 2 and 1 after a while. Yeah, if you finish 2, or finish what you want to do in 2, because there's like 8 layers of post-game content with both games. and especially for Neo 2. But if you finish what you want to do in your Neo 2 playthrough, and you're like, you know, I'd like to play like a prototype version of this, or think of Neo 1 kind of like a DLC campaign, in the sense that a lot of games have DLC campaigns where you play as like more of a restricted character, and do kind of like story stuff that ties in with the backstory of the game, the base game. How much better and more interesting too is the so I would say play 2 first, even though you'll miss some of the story beats. It's not that big a deal because the story is told better in Neo 2, so you'll be less confused going into Neo 2 than you are into Neo 1, even though Neo 2 picks up on a lot of the story of Neo 1. Updated my wish list, yeah. The English guy who got marooned there, yeah, which he's a really interesting character, but in the game he's basically Geralt of Rivia with less to say, and I don't know, he just speaks English the whole time, and the only character who understands even a little English that I remember in the game was what's his name, the famous ninja, who was also in the Samurai Showdown series. Hanzo. Hikari Hanzo is the only other character that seems to even speak a little bit of English, and he has hilarious English skills in Neo 1. Whereas in Neo 2, you either play it with the Japanese dub or the English dub, and everyone speaks the same language, and it makes a lot more sense. I honestly really like the English dub in this. I like all the voice actors they got for it. It's got really good music too. Neo 1 had okay music, but Neo 2's got great music. Especially everything that ties in with Takichiro's theme is really great. So yeah, I think, again, I want to apologize for kind of rushing this, but again, I'm glad I got it through. I got through it. I'm glad we all got to talk about some more games. So top 10. Let's just revisit the top 10 real quick before I cut off. Tony's Hawk, Pro Skater 1 and 2, absolute must-buy if you have any way to play it. Apparently the Switch port's very good. I played it on PS4 and it was awesome. You can talk about Tony Hawk for another hour again to make up for it. Maybe I will. But yeah, any way you can play this. I don't know how the PC port is. From what I've read, it's good. But it's a, I believe it's an Epic exclusive, so you would have to download the Epic People's Republic of China store to play it. The PC port of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Oh yeah, just pirate it? Okay, yeah, that's fine. But, can't pirate it. You can do whatever you want. Anyway, Loyalty and Blood Victor Origins, absolute must-buy. It's a great, tight little game, only $1. Nobody's played it. The developer has probably hung himself in that one forest in Japan. I don't actually know the nationality of the developer, but it's an absolute must-buy, must-play. Hero's Spirit, really cool, classic, like, sense of you exploring an old game. I just bought Victor Origins, and we'll play next. Awesome. I can't wait to hear how disappointed you are in it and how you think it sucks or something. Hero's Spirit, it genuinely feels like you discovering an old NES game or something like that, or an old PC game. A little less so now with the big update that came out for it, but it's still really cool, and I think it's worth checking out if you have any interest in like that old style of game. Unsighted, very, very good. I loved almost everything about it. It's not for everyone, I don't think. I think some people will kind of wish either it had more of a Metroidvania style exploration, or had more complicated combat or something like that. And some people will be put off just from the story stuff and how many characters there are and stuff like that, but I think it's worth checking out. Victor Origins looks like Abuse. I don't remember Abuse that well. Mega Man 9. Easily the best Mega Man game in my opinion that was ever made. Still one of the best platformers to just hop into and play through. All-time great game. Amazing music. Only problem is you're probably going to get it in a package with some shittier games. And if you don't, then you have to buy the DLCs separately, which is kind of stupid, especially because the DLCs don't really add that much to it. But they're enough that you're going to probably want to pick them up if you're playing it a lot. So it's kind of a shame, but Abuse the violent act, not Abuse the video game. Oh, okay. I thought Abuse was another Metroidvania or something that I vaguely remembered. CHR, $ in parentheses 143. Very cool game. I'm really glad that the dev sat down for 20 years and made something stupid that nobody else really had that much interest in or will ever have that much interest in. And apparently he's got his own little fan base and stuff like that. That's nice. I wish there was a little bit more of the like big open maps that you actually like get to have creative solutions for, instead of a lot of back-to-back tutorials. And it's not going to be for hardly anyone. Like I'd say a lot of things are not for everyone, but this one is really not for everyone to an extreme. I'm gonna close Neo. But definitely cool. If it looks cool to you, you can probably grab it for free still on his itch.io page. Yeah, like Haffel just said. I don't know if it's the updated version or if you can download user maps on that version or anything. But it's also only $3 right now, so even if it's lacking those features on the itch version, you can probably play through enough of that to see if it's worth throwing $3 down. Monster Sanctuary, really cool game. If you're really into like theory crafting, for lack of a better word, you can do a lot of really cool stuff here. It's got a lot of extra content for like post-game making like really badass super broken parties. It's really cool. Super cheap right now, on sale too. Void Run, awesome little arcade game. Really tight gameplay loop. Some good palette choices. I especially like the green Game Boy palette. Really cool. Dark Souls. I don't know why Dark Souls is this high, honestly. If you haven't played Dark Souls, well, unfortunately you can't play this version of Dark Souls because you probably don't already own a copy of it, and you can't buy this version anymore. It's been removed from the store. You would have to play the remastered edition, which kind of sucks. It's not terrible, but it kind of sucks. And Yakuza Like a Dragon. Again, I don't know who's gonna play Yakuza because I mentioned Yakuza and they've never heard of Yakuza before. But that wouldn't be a bad entry point, I don't think. Yakuza 0 is apparently really good if you want more of the classic beat-em-up style games. But, and it's not an amazing JRPG, but it is a really good... It's like a really good series. I actually have been playing Like a Dragon. Yeah. Yeah, nothing about it is terrible, but too many random encounters there are pointless. I mean, that's part of the point of the series, I think, is that you're just constantly bumping into new people. I just played DS1 on the PS3 with all the Japanese. Yeah, but then you can't play the Age of Sunlight mod, which is what I actually, I guess, technically ranked here. I don't really remember how that went, because I did it with Big Biceps, which I think was right after we ranked Scholar of the First Sin, which I have no idea how we put it this high. I think we just compared it to Salt and Sanctuary. Yeah, that's the top 10. A lot of great games this year, honestly. And not all of them came out this year, but Unsighted came out this year, CHR came out this year, Voidrun came out this year, Echoes of the Eye, Arthurian Legends, Smashing Spirits, the Afterlife update for Death's Gambit was real recent, Ender Lilies. So, yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching, and the handful of you that joined me on chat to talk about some of these games, I really appreciate that. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys later. Probably for sometime after Christmas, I was thinking of doing the kind of call-in recommendations thing. I haven't really ironed out what I want to do for that, but I'll post in the thread about it at some point. So, have a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. See you guys later.